And we're recording, and we are back with another edition of BizDevLeaders.com. Today's guest, Joe Rojas of Red Sapiens. But before we get to you, Joe, our guest,
All right.
Marty Katz, how are you doing today?
I'm really good. I'm happy to be here with my good buddy, Joe. I know him for a long time. He's got a lot to say, and I'm happy that he's joining us to talk about what's going on right now in business.
That's awesome. The for our guests and for our visitors and for our listeners and everything else, I moved into WeWork. It was in 1997. That is not
no. No.
I moved into WeWork in 2017, and
sounds more like it.
Yeah, 2017, and I met both you guys, Joe and Marty. And Marty, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Joe and I were going to become best friends just because of that alone. But Marty, why don't you introduce yourself and BizDev Leaders, and then we'll kick it over to Joe.
Sure. So I'm Marty Katz, and I'm the founder of Connectors 360. I'm a marketing consultant, and I specialize in branding and messaging. That's what I do. And Joe is someone I also know from WeWork. Obviously, we've spent quite a bit of time together. And he has a great deal that he's worked with entrepreneurs for a long period of time. He has much to offer us about what's going on in our particular space. And we're all entrepreneurs right now trying to figure it all out. So that's that background on us.
All right. And Joe, why don't you give us a very brief, brief description about Red Sapiens and what you're up to right now, because we'll get into details a little later. But I want to ask you, just right now to introduce yourself, and then we're going to talk about the current climate and what the heck is going on in this world.
Sure, we can talk about that. So my name is Joe Rojas, and I'm a business coach. I work with entrepreneurs and managed service providers, and the problem that I solve for them is that they're completely overwhelmed by the mountain of tasks that there is to do to run their business. It leaves them frustrated, it leaves them upset, it leaves them not able to move forward, and then we come along and help them install a business process that really deals with the A to Z of their business and takes them to the next level.
I'm gonna stop you right there and just ask you.
Yeah.
Do you know Marty Katz?
Yeah, I know Marty Katz well. He actually trained me to say everything that I just said right now.
Oh my God, that was. I have never heard a better description based on all of Marty's rules ever. I think we can cut the recording right now. I think we're done.
Thank you very much for your kind words.
Well, Marty is an amazing trainer, and he beat it into me. It took him about 8 months, but he really did beat it into me, and I really did understand how to explain my issue.
I'm like shedding a tear how beautiful that was. That was so beautiful. I loved every second. So Joe, you're working with entrepreneurs. Well, this is definitely a time for entrepreneurs. I mean,
absolutely.
Let's talk about the current climate with this coronavirus thing. I don't know where it looks like you're in the studio, Joe, with your background. Is that a real background or a virtual background?
That is a virtual background. That I'm in my mother's living room because downstairs is too loud with the kids. Oh. So. But it's been interesting working from home. I am having a good time, I must say.
Really good for you.
Yeah, and staying healthy. Are you getting outdoors at all?
We're doing walks in the morning, so we go out and we do a walk early in the morning when there's nobody around, and good social distancing. We're staying in for the rest of the time. Doing our regular exercise regimen, not as heavy as when we go to the gym, and I miss the sauna and the steam room a lot, but but other than that, we're holding up okay.
That's good. Yeah, my kids have been on Zoom nonstop from 9 o'clock in the morning till I love it when they come out of their rooms And I'm like, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in school? And they're like, our teacher let us out early today. I have no way to verify that, but it's been a very interesting time with this whole coronavirus and stay at home and social distancing.
Yeah.
You know, why don't Joe? Why don't you give us a little background? How'd you get into coaching for entrepreneur? Did you wake up one day in high school and say, I want to be a career coach?
I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
So
Yeah, I didn't wake up. I didn't wake up. I didn't even go to high school, so I didn't. I didn't get to wake up in high school. So I quit school early on. Joined the Army when I was about 19. Then went through a whole series of things. Worked for Department of Defense. Went into biomedical engineering, then technology, and then started my own IT company. Failed miserably for a couple of years, and then I learned how to effectively run a business. And then I did that for the next 20 years. I grew 4 different IT companies, sold them, and one day I woke up and said, I think I'm in the wrong business. I was still in IT, and I said, I think I'm in the wrong business. I've been helping my clients now take their business over $1 million, and I helped everything from sandwich shops to doggy daycares really take their business to the next level. And I decided at that point that it would be great to work with entrepreneurs. And so I sold my IT company and started this consulting firm, and I've been doing that ever since, and working primarily now with managed service and IT companies because I came from that space. But I do work with companies that are willing to do the work that's required, which is really that's a thing that there is to get. There is a lot of work that's required to be an effective entrepreneur, and if you're willing to do that work, I'm willing to do it with you.
So I need to backtrack a little bit because I
Sure.
about how I met both of you guys at our WeWork space. But how did you two meet? Did you are you all high school buddies, Marty?
Remember, he didn't go to high
Army
school.
buddies?
I didn't go. I was not in the Army, so far that's 2 for 2.
So we had a mutual friend who said, "You two guys are gonna love each other. I'm gonna introduce you." And he walked me over. Marty was living in one WeWork office, and we were living in another one. And he walked me over, introduced me to Marty, and he'd known Marty for years. And we hit it right off. Like literally right. Like we were talking every day after that. And eventually we joined forces and moved in our offices together. Marty trained me on that spiel that you heard earlier, and
Yes.
learned a lot of really great, valuable lessons from Marty. And then we kind of went the ways that we went, But it's been fun and interesting, and it's really a great partnership with him.
Right. So
Thank you.
Marty, I have to ask you, is everything he just said true? Do you want to
Yes.
that story?
No, it's all 100% accurate. All on target. Every piece.
No, but did you meet Joe and say, "Oh, this is going to be a good friend of mine"? Or
Yeah. Absolutely. We got along professionally and personally, and Joe accompanied me to an ashram where I meditate, and so we meditated together. We chanted together. We had a lot in common right away.
And amazing. So Marty, during all this time, because Joe, that's what you and I have in common. Besides the beautiful hairstyle, what you and I have in common is that I also met Marty and I hit it off right away. So yeah. Marty, you have this thing about you that just it makes you how does the song go? Irresistible, unforgettable.
Something like both, probably.
Something like
and I'm not sure how that happens, but somehow it does. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
So Marty, this whole approach of the 3 rules of marketing, why don't you tell our audience about the 3 rules of marketing and what I'm particularly interested in. I don't know if Joe is joking around or not about how you drilled it into him for 8 months, but why don't you tell everyone about the 3 rules of marketing, about yourself, about your approach, and the process of working with Joe to get us all here today.
Great. So as I said, I'm a founder of Connectors 360. marketing consultant specializing in branding and messaging. And I work with leaders of small to mid-sized firms. The problem they have is they don't have the sales that they want. And the reason is they're not connecting with their target audience. And that's because their message is not clear or memorable. And that leaves them feeling frustrated. So I develop a message that allows my clients to connect with their target audience, generate sales leads, and grow their businesses. That's what I do.
Would it be at all disrespectful if I told you that I think Joe actually does you better than you?
That's the whole point, is to have my clients do better than me. So I'm going to answer the question about the messaging begins with these 3 rules. It's just opens up the conversation. And the 3 rules are: nobody cares about you. That means that everybody has their own business, they have their own lives, they're not interested in you. No one's waking up and saying, I need a branding guy today. No one's going to do that. They're only
what are you saying, Marty? That no one cares about me? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, nobody cares about you. That's exactly correct.
That's such a hard pill to swallow.
Yes, I do know that, but that is the way it is. So people just have to get...
It's not personal. You don't care about anybody else either. So it's...
It's mutual.
Just don't forget that it's not personal.
It is so hard. I don't know if you thought about this for a long time, just realizing no one cares about you or your business or the bills that you have to pay. They just don't. Hey, did you come out with that? Like, did you wake up one day and just realize that nobody cares about me?
No, it took a long, long time. It took many decades, frankly, to get to this. So that's what you're experiencing. The second rule is that people only remember the problem that you solve. So that means that if you talk about your credentials or your background or your achievements or your clients or your media profile or anything like that, that's too much for people to really recall. They only will remember the problem you solved, and the problem has to be something that's resonant with them. It's their problem. It's not about your solution. So they only remember the problem you solve. And the third thing is that people will not do the work to figure it out. So if you present us with a whole litany of your background and what you've been doing since college, or even if you went to college, or your clients, people have to sift through that to see what is in that for them. And they're not going to do that because it's too much work. So Joe is a perfect example of that, because he identified very specifically with my guidance this exact thing. That's why it was so crisp and clear about what it is. And he didn't mention one word about himself, except at the end where he says, I can help you solve the problem. But he didn't talk about anything about his background. All of those things about his process, his credentials, his approach, all of that comes after he gets the attention of the people he's trying to reach, both online and off, whether this is a one-on-one communication or whether it's a digital communication. The same applies. So Joe is a really good example of this, because he took this seriously and he rehearsed it over and over and over and over until he got it right.
Right. So as this forum is BizDev leaders, and we're all about business development and helping people, when mostly prior to a month ago, it was all about business development. How should people go about their business development? What are the different aspects of business development? Marty, why don't you tell people about, tell our audience about what our mission is with BizDev leaders. And then Joe, I'd love to hear your definition of business development. And especially after that, let's get into how has business development changed or been modified or adapted to today's climate and environment.
So business development, as we describe it, is the development of long-term relationships that generate benefits for mutual parties, for both parties. It's how can organizations work together to generate outcomes that benefits both of them through interchanges and approaches to marketing to make a difference. That's what business development is. It's different than sales, which is about closing. It's different than marketing, which is about opening. And it's certainly different than any other kind of marketing communication. It bridges everything. And so that's how we define it. And at this particular time, we think that the idea of developing relationships is even more critical than it was before the pandemic. And I would like to hear, of course, about Joe's point of view about it. It's about the building of and nurturing of relationships as the #1 priority, as opposed to let me try to sell you my stuff, or let me try to buy your stuff.
Joe, would you concur?
Absolutely. And it's really, you know, when I look at even my client relationships right now, I'm working with a client right now. We're going on our 23rd month. And I really track it like that. I really track how, you know, and in the 12th month, I told them, hey, I think you guys don't need me anymore. And they were like, no, you're sticking around. And the reason for that is when we started working with them, they were at $1 million. They're now at $2.5 million. When we started working with them, they had no leadership team. They now have a 4-person leadership team. When we started working with them, there were 6 people. There's now 18 people in the organization, and they've really figured out what it is that they do and who they are and how they work. And that's the type of relationship that we build, where it's mutual, where we're doing custom things for them now, for their own training and development processes inside of the organization. And that's really where it all lives, right? That those long-term relationships, not that short-term win or that quick hit. And so for me, and for our organization, it's really about thinking long-term. What's our relationship going to be with the client 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
So just back it up for me just a little bit. How did you meet this client, and how are you meeting these clients? So 23 months ago obviously wasn't during this time. So please,
Yeah.
how you had done business development in the past, because I know I've
Sure.
I would pass by your room and people were like a guru. They were up, and everyone was engaged in what you had to say. And I really think you have something unique that other people don't have. So tell me about your past.
Well, our process is interesting, right? Because we look at our process of business development like a selection process. So I don't want to work with people that are jerks, basically, right? So I have very low tolerance for that, right? So when I go out looking for clients, I'm kind of, do I want to work with that person? Do I want to work with this person? I'm not going to take everybody who comes. There are people who are just not a fit and will not work with us, right? And so and any time that I've violated that rule, I've gotten a beat down every single time. So I don't violate that rule anymore, right? So I go out, and what I'm looking for is people who are genuinely driven and want to grow their business. They genuinely want to grow their business, and they're willing to invest the time and the money that it takes for them to grow their business. And if they're willing to do those things, if they're willing to invest the time to plan from the future, to create a 15-year goal and a 5-year goal and a 1-year goal, and then work their way back to the present and go through quarter by quarter and really do the work that we require them to do. And they have the money to pay us because we're not super expensive, but we're not cheap. So if they're willing to do those two things, fine. Sorry about that. So if they're willing to do those two things, then that's the beginning, right? That's the beginning. And then we go through a whole interview process where we walk them through what our process is. And then we do a 1-quarter trial where we try it out for 3 months and see if we're a fit working together. And then if that works out, then we do another 3 months. And then if that works out, we do another 3 months. And then that's how it goes, right? So our process is geared toward really giving, and we have a 30-day out in our contract. So if you really think that I'm a jerk, then you can leave at any time that you want. right?
Yeah.
So and the way I view it is if we're not doing our job, if we're not doing a great job at what we do, you shouldn't use us. So we build processes to give the client an out and to give us an out, because if you're not going to take the coaching, we're not going to take your money. It's just a waste of time.
So
Yeah.
tell us about what's going on in this climate right now. I'm sorry, Marty, did you want to jump in with?
Yeah, I was going to lead into that and say, it'd be interesting to talk about business development per se, which is, as I mentioned, as we define the development of long-term relationships. It's not so much about you being a supplier or someone else being a supplier, but what are you doing to develop long-term relationships with people from which you can both benefit? For instance, Raphi and I, we have separate businesses, but we've created BizDev leaders, and that's a classic example of business development, because we're doing something that's different to benefit both of us. So I'd like to hear about what you do in that area.
Good. Well, let's talk about what's happening for a minute, right? So we have this whole COVID-19 going on, and there's a couple of things that I want to say about it. So first is everybody's really like, if you haven't thought about this, I want you to think about it. This is going to take another 3 to 4 months of working like this.
At least.
They're saying, whatever they're saying, it's going to take about another 3 or 4 months. So if you don't plan appropriately, it's going to hurt. So please take some time to plan. That's the first thing. Okay.
Yep.
The second thing that I want to say is that right now I'm really available for my clients right now. So I'm working with the existing clients that I have. I don't know, unless somebody's doing really well right now, I don't know that I would take them on as a client, because I'm not going to be a burden to a business right now. But what we are doing is we're going to do a call starting tomorrow morning, every Friday morning, for business leaders, where they can come, introduce themselves, say what they do, and they can state an issue that they're having. We're going to rank the issues, and then we're going to work as a group on somebody's problem every week to help them overcome that problem. We're also going to put resources and a whole bunch of things that are available. So right now, I'm a big believer in what goes around comes around, right? So right now, the opportunity for us as business leaders is to really support everybody. And we got to make a living too, right? But I figure most of us can do that with our existing clients, and we want to build those relationships and support those existing clients in as much as we can for them to continue to pay us. And then what we want to do with the new folks is really kind of nurture them, and and if there's somebody who's really thriving, there might be somebody who's thriving in this environment, and they say, look, I don't know how to do X, Y, or Z. Like I really need to market myself right now, and I need SEO right now, or I need branding right now. Then yeah, you definitely want to go to work with that person if it's there for them. But what we don't want to do is take money away from businesses that are hurting and are closed and can't do that right now. But we do want to offer the resources and make those things available to them.
Yeah. So Marty and I have been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, that now is not the time for hard selling. Now is the time for support and development of relationships and strengthening of those relationships, and just being there for you. But we only have a few minutes left, and I really want to get into the uniqueness that Joe Rojas and Red Sapiens brings to the table. So please tell us, how do you stand out from your competition, and what makes you unique?
It's a tough question, because the processes that we use are not new, right? If you go back to Think and Grow Rich, or the E-Myth, or all the or Good to Great, and all the great throwbacks, all those processes are in our system. I think that if I had to say the one thing that makes us unique from everybody else out there, is that everybody else out there will tell you, you should go do this. and we will do it with you. We will hold your hand. We will be there with you every step of the way. We talk every week. I'm available to my clients all the time. I get calls at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Hey, I'm thinking about firing so-and-so. I'm thinking that I need to get this loan. And I just wanted to run it by you and see what your thoughts were about it, or what do you think I should do? And that's the difference. The difference is that we're there when you need a sounding board. We're there when you need to make a decision. We're there. And I've been there. I've been there. I've made those decisions. I've felt that pain. I've done that stuff. So I can make decisions from an informed place. And when I can't, I'll reach out to somebody like Marty or like you or one of our resources and say, hey, what do you have that you can, yesterday one of our accounting clients called us up and they needed a particular kind of contract. And I called a good friend of ours that's been our forensic accountant for a bunch of different things. I called them up and I said, hey, do you have this kind of contract that you could share a template with me? He said, no problem, Joe, here you go. And got her exactly what she needed right away. And so I think that's the difference, is that we're really there for you and really put the resources of our team behind you so that you can grow.
Marty, did you want to jump in with
Yeah, I wanted to say that there are really two things. One of the things that I believe that make you very different, Joe. First of all, you have synthesized this enormous body of work about leadership and management and team building from many, many sources, and you made it easy and simple for people to access just by if they follow your guidelines. I think that's the key piece, is that you've synthesized so much stuff. People don't have to look at all different places. That's number one. Number two, I would say resources, yes, but very specifically, your team has extremely deep roots in the networking community. Just plain and simple, you have a tremendous number of people in so many business disciplines. And so because you have such deep roots in business disciplines, that is a value add that few people can really offer.
Very true. One of the things I love, Joe, is that I'm a big LinkedIn user. And I honestly love seeing my friends on LinkedIn. And I love seeing your pictures and your groups, and you're involved with the Chamber of Commerce, and you're on, like, your videos are coming up. So you're doing it all right. And I really appreciate I really appreciate knowing, working with, and just learning from people. And that's really, I'm going to add into this whole climate. This is also a time not only to be there for support, it's a time for education. It's really absolutely for all of us to better ourselves and to learn more and to just be open to, Marty, we've talked about this. You got to be more open-minded and adapt to today's environment more than ever. So I pulled up your website here, Joe, helping MSPs and leaders create thriving businesses. Is there anything we should know?
There's a blue bar all the way at the top talking about education that takes you straight to our webinar. So if you see all the way at the top, right below the browser line, there's a little blue bar that says find out more, or click here to find out more, whatever that it says up on that little blue bar up there. That'll take you straight to our webinar. And that's a 45-minute webinar that really walks you through what our process is and gives you a bunch of free tools. And then you get 3 more days of education that'll come at you, everything from creating your business model canvas to really thinking about the mindsets of an entrepreneur. So really great content developed by our team. So
fantastic.
It's very, very cool.
Great. So Marty, in a couple of minutes that we have left, any final questions? Clearly, where are you working from, the office, or are you working from home today, Marty?
Well, I hope he's working from home. Everybody.
This is definitely my home. As you saw, my wife stepped into the view.
So final 2 minutes, Marty. Final questions or final announcements that you have going on?
Well, BizDev leaders, which typically met once a month at our offices at WeWork, is clearly not available to us. And we're going to be having it online. We're going to be developing an agenda that's a little different than what we usually do. And we're really using this as a forum for people to really build relationships And so we're working on what that agenda will look like. We want it to be separative and different. It's not going to be business as usual, which we had typically would have a workshop about branding followed by networking. This is going to be different. It's going to be something that will allow people to meet each other and express their own individuality without it being a straight-on networking group.
And Joe, why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you, how people should be spelling Red Sapiens and get in touch with you.
Right here, right? And then right
Oh,
underneath the Red Sapiens, it says How Entrepreneurs Thrive. That's my book. It's over here. You can get it on Amazon.
And
There's
the website.
a link to it right on our website. So if you go to redsapiens.com, you'll find there's a resources page there, and there's Joe's favorite books, and the first one happens to be mine. So
That's
you
good.
can get a link to it there. There's also links to all of my other favorite books that are on there, and you can reach me Joe at redsapiens.com, or you can call me directly at 347-901-5550, 347-901-5550.
And last thing, any things coming up that you'd like to invite people to come to?
Oh, sure. So we've got tomorrow morning we have a business leaders, but tomorrow morning there's also a great Greater New York Chamber of Commerce is having an event, so you can check them out at chamber.nyc. On Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, I'm having I'm leading a speed pitch networking session for the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. You can register for that at chamber.nyc, and we'll be running that leaders. It's called Thrivers 360, and we're going to be doing that every.
I'm going to say thank you. We're about to run out of time.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Raphi, Salem, Marty, Katz, Joe Rojas. Thanks again for listening, watching, and we look forward to being in touch. Thanks.
All right.